Ghostwire Tokyo let me down. I'm not sure if the majority of people viewing this knows what Ghostwire is, but it was a game that I truly felt like was going to be an industry-breaking title. It was a juggling act of cool and exciting ideas that made me feel like I was watching gaming history unravel before my very eyes. But why is this game so unheard of, and what led it to be what it is today? Recently, I've made the switch to PC after being on console for the past 16 years of my life. It was honestly pretty jarring switching from controller to keyboard. There's just so many more buttons. Regardless, I was still really excited and couldn't wait to become more familiar with it. After my friend helped me set up, I had the entire interwebs in front of me. I booted up Steam, and a game caught my eye. Picture this. It's 2019. 2018, the year before, has already blessed us with fantastic titles like Spider-Man PS4, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, a SpongeBob racing game, and many more smash hits we hail today as the greats. 2018 was a massive year for gaming, and as it made its close, it farts out a new Smash Bros. Because it can. How is 2019 gonna follow this up?
Pretty well, to be honest.
Besides that, E3 2019 takes center stage. We bite our nails and curl our toes in anticipation for what will be in store for the future of gaming. Cyberpunk once again makes its appearance, which we all know went incredibly well, alongside other highlight moments. A brand new Star Wars game, Halo, Hideo Kojima's return to gaming with Death Stranding, and what's this? The streets of Shibuya bustling with people while the visuals are numbed to a depressing gray. Eerie music gives the viewers unease as they watch things unfold. People vanish from the frame while the city seems to be overtaken by the supernatural and sprawling mythology of Japan. The concept alone had people sold and excited for the project. Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo was headed by two creative geniuses, Shinji Mikami and Ikumi Nakamura. The game was being developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda. Although Bethesda is responsible for the biggest piles of shit ever, it's also responsible for these little guys.
I said eat!
Stop! You violated the law!
Shinji Mikami is known for his career-defining works such as Resident Evil, The Evil Within, and the Devil May Cry series. Alongside him was the incredibly talented Ikumi Nakamura, who was an artist for the Evil Within series, and Okami, a downright gorgeous game released in 2006 with a fantastic art design. With names like these, I had little doubt the game would be a flop. Two people who are very familiar with horror were now heading this new, promising-looking title. But even with all of this excitement and intrigue, the title slipped away from our minds as time passed. March 25th, 2022. Ghostwire Tokyo finally releases. And holy mackerel, visually the game looks absolutely stellar. Ghostwire Tokyo dropped me into a world that I couldn't take my eyes off of. Color splashes on the screen, borderline overwhelming me as I tried absorbing the amazing visuals. I mean, look at this. I could honestly get on this game just to have a swell walk in the fictional country of Japan that this game takes place in. I found myself on edge within its first few hours, with the looming sense of danger surrounding me in every direction, and my unfamiliarity with what will happen next made me feel nervous. The interiors of every building in the game had me uneasy, as I felt evil little bad guys who were just waiting to leap out at me around every corner. The empty buildings would bend and shift in supernatural ways. Every step, every corner, and every turn, I was afraid. It seemed as though the buildings themselves were alive. Now, I love horror. But horror is a subjective concept. When some people find spiders scary, others may be completely unfazed. Some people find games like FNAF scary, while others find it childish horseshit. I personally was always petrified of literally any horror concept ever presented to me. Clowns, aliens, monsters, blah blah blah, I mean, I'd be scared. One of my first experiences with horror was when my grandmother bought me the game Alien Isolation. I was 9 years old, and my pea brain trying to navigate the quiet and ambient space station will forever be burnt into my mind. I remember my first encounter with the xenomorph had me utterly mortified. I slept with the lights on for weeks, but something woke inside of me. I craved the adrenaline of being scared and reaching the cusp of soiling my neon Nike shorts. That's when I fell in love with horror. When I say horror is subjective, I'd like to say I don't entirely agree with that statement. Yes, some people can be scared of one thing, and others can be scared of the other. But something that I truly believe everyone is afraid of is the unknown. I feel the very concept of fear derives from not being in control. We, as human beings, instinctually need to know what happens next. And when we don't, we begin to stress. When the mind is allowed to run rampant with the lack of anything, we assume the worst. The distressing feeling of not knowing what's behind the closet door or what bellows in the ocean deep, that is what I truly believe scares everyone. Ghostwire nails this sense of unease with its tight interiors and ominous atmosphere, and although the quiet nothingness is eventually disturbed, I was still frightened with what I was presented with. The design of the enemies made me downright uncomfortable. With the lack of features on their faces, an unnatural way of moving, I felt disturbed looking at them. While some designs were far stronger than others, as I felt some fell into cliché, the enemies look like they were meant to scare me. Especially this guy, he looks like Jeff the Killer. It seems as if Ghostwire Tokyo was crafted to be a horror game, and I wouldn't be surprised if at one point that's what the project was. But weirdly enough, it wasn't. Even with the game nailing this sense of unease, it opts to put horror as a background theme, and heavily focus on action. The power the game grants us is definitely fun, but it detracts from our original fear of what was hiding around the corner. The initial gameplay loop had me hooked as I casted magic spells and fought Japanese people to the death. These stupid ghouls cannot and will not stand a chance to our sorcery. Every shot landed in Ghostwire leaves a hefty impact. Each spell feels different and serves its own purpose and can be charged up for heavier effect. The wind spell is the base shot with good range and decent damage. It goes like this. The fire spell feels like throwing a meteor at a small family of rats. And lastly, the water spell is pretty much a shotgun as it has a close range with just a beautiful spread. I just love blowing deadly splashes of sewer water at my favorite creepypasta, the Smile Dog. Every single enemy, no matter how big or how small, all share one thing. Once they're weak enough, we can unleash one of the gnarliest execution animations I've ever seen. On top of it being unbearably crisp to look at, if multiple enemies are put into this wounded state, you can execute all of them at the same time. Unfortunately, stealth is hardly viable in this game, as it is a miserably boring and broken system. All the enemies are constantly grouped together in a big circle jerk and never branch off far enough to take them all out quietly, because fuck me for trying to be a wee bit creative with my gameplay. Don't get me wrong, it starts out fun as I get a grip on the combat, but eventually I realize it's just...
Hickey? Almost excited up.
There's no combos to build up big damage, or any real way of mixing up my gameplay at all. Unless we want to count shooting a weak spot on the bad guy, which is thrilling. This game features cool-ass bosses. Just look at the design of these absolute horrific menaces.
Ow! Fuck! Are you shitting me? Fuck.
Funny, funny, funny!
Wow!
Yeah, beat the
And now my master plan starts. No! I got No! Aren't you just the funniest little thing? Aren't you just the funniest little guy? No! Duh! Gimme! And that's how you fucking do it! Oh my god, the easiest boss I've ever fought!
Why do the boss fights look so cool if all I'm gonna do is walk back and forth while shooting at them? Ghostwire's only approach to difficulty is giving things more health and make them deal more damage. That isn't intuitive. Do we remember when I said that stealth in this game is awful? Well, one of the boss's entire fight requires stealth. Crouching and clicking one button has never been more thrilling. The world originally seems small, as a deadly smog blocks our way from exploring it any further. But the map reveals its true size as we cleanse gates, pushing back the ever-foreboding fog. Luckily for us, every single one of these shrines are defended by enemies, and that's it. Over and over and over again. As I want to explore more of the map, I'm forced to keep fighting enemies, rinse and repeat, further exacerbating how repetitive the combat is. But with a map this pretty, it's gonna be fun to explore, right? Ghostwire sprinkles its map filled to the brim with side missions. When playing through the first handful, I had high hopes. Some confidently brought back the horror tones, but when trudging through the creepy atmosphere, it just devolves into another mob of enemies to kill. And that's as good as it gets. Although some of the side missions have charming yokai and visuals to see, gameplay-wise, there's no substance. I'm just shooting shit. The game plasters all sorts of lost souls across the city that we must collect. It heavily incentivizes you to grab them. And oh my god, it's so boring. It cuts the pace at a screeching halt, and I found myself just giving up and just running past all of them. I like these shopkeeper cats though. They're cute. And I like going up elevators. But how is the movement? In most open world games, they present the player with fun and smooth ways of transportation. Spider-Man PS4 and its spin-off, Miles Morales, have the most sensational movement I've ever experienced in an open world game. You swing from web to web, picking up more speed as you do it. You can do crazy tricks in the air, zip through water towers, construction sites, and run on walls at a breakneck pace. I mean, just the game is the pinnacle of what fun movement should be. Dying Light 1 and 2, alongside the Mirror's Edge series, have fun-flowing and in-depth parkour systems. Dying Light 2 also has a grappling hook. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Just Cause, GTA, Sunset Overdrive, it doesn't end. Ghostwire Tokyo is going head-to-head with incredible titles, so what does it do to keep us engaged? I don't know. Walking? I mean, we can sprint. We have a weird float ability that lasts like 5 seconds tops. Oh! And I forgot to mention, we can grapple onto our Tengu flying in the air. If that sounds fun, just know it brings you to a grinding halt, pulls you to the air, and it's done in a second, and you can't chain it together and go from Tengu to Tengu without waiting a whole 2 seconds in between grapples, which is just thoroughly disappointing. Listen, open world games do not need in-depth movement systems to be good. Breath of the Wild is an incredible game, and its movement isn't particularly exciting, but what it is engaging. The stamina bar that slowly goes down when climbing or gliding keeps players glued to the screen, making sure they're managing it well. Who cares about climbing though? Ghostwire Tokyo gives us a motorcycle. Now this is what I'm talking about. Right? Obviously, we get to drive this motorcycle, right? It's just in a cutscene. Okay. I understand that it sounds like I absolutely hate this game, but I don't. I found it wonderfully beautiful, but it just fell short in so many ways. The game had so much potential, as it shows off one of the best concepts for a game I've ever seen. I love the little animations this game has, the gorgeous city, its sleek cosmetics, and interesting story. I want to keep spoilers to an absolute minimum, but if you can get past all this game's shortcomings, underneath is an engaging story with a legitimate emotional ending that almost made me tear up. Ghostwire Tokyo had the chance to be one of the greatest games of our time, but like many other titles released in our generation, it just turned out mediocre. I think this game has the potential to be a favorite to many people, but by the end of it all for me, I was disappointed. It seems as though the developers wanted to do so much more, and it ended up being too much on their plate. Obviously, there was lots of passion poured into this project. The devs tried to do so much, but it feels like they stretched themselves too thin. As we all live our lives, day by day, many of us crack under the pressure. So many rotating pieces move at a pace we just can't keep up with. School, friends, family, relationships, and so on. Sometimes it can all be too much. Remember to take a moment to breathe, step back, and handle things one at a time. Don't spiral, comparing yourself to others. Don't crumble, trying to do everything at once, and take your time. Strive to be the best you can be, and strive to do the best you can do.